like to first welcome everyone to Globed's Coffee and Conversation 2022, Study Abroad, and then we're here today to talk about strategies to build your careers after studying abroad. And for this, we have with us 5 guests today who studied abroad and transitioned very smoothly into their careers. We hope you will leave today with knowing the struggles and the hard work that went behind their success, and something which you could use for yourself to make your shift from your education life into your work life. After each speaker finishes speaking, we will take a few quick questions, and at the end of all the speakers, we'll have a longer period of question and answers. We would prefer if you could drop your questions in the chat box, and then we'll give you a chance to ask them yourself. I would like to just remind everyone that this forum is to discuss building careers and your profile for a career. We don't want to discuss about universities, visas, scholarships, all of that. So request you to avoid asking questions related to these. And if any of you want to connect to our speakers after the program, please send us a message. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our speakers. Our first speaker being Shubhajit Mukherjee. Shubhajit studied electrical and electronics engineering. He then did a double degree in engineering and management, and followed it up with an MBA. Can everyone please put their themselves on mute, because we can hear some sounds coming. So Subhajit is now senior consultant at Business Integration Partners in Milan, Italy. Our next speaker, Prithviraj Ray. He's on the verge of completing his business degree in UK and has already gathered a vast portfolio of experiences, which I'm sure you will love to hear about. Our third speaker is Megha Agarwal. Megha studied contemporary craft and then a master's in creative economy. She's now the business development manager at YouGov in London. Udita Chakravarti, she got her law degree and then she switched to international relations for postgraduate studies. She's currently working as a contractor, communications, advocacy, and partnerships at UNICEF India. And finally, we have with us Shaumak Mukherjee. He worked in Ecuador under TCS for a while, and then he did a master's in manufacturing engineering. And he's now assistant vice president at Citi, Canada. So now with all our introductions done, I think we can get started. Shubhajit, can I ask you to please continue?
Okay. First of all, welcome everybody, and thanks, Runiti, for having me here. The last time we spoke, it was 2 years back, and the previous edition, it was me and Prithviraj. So it's nice to have more people around this time, from the speaker side and also from the audience side. So my talk is, I hope it will be succinct, and please stop me whenever you either don't understand my English, I'm not audible, or I said something which wasn't clear. So it revolves around the answer to the question, the dreaded interview question: why should we hire you? I think maybe once or multiple times we will be facing this question, and I would like you to tell what, according to me, should be the actions one should take to prepare for this question. Now, what is not different, according to me? It's a person who goes abroad, and since it's -5 degrees, usually doesn't go to university, struggles to pass their exams, and binge watches Breaking Bad in 3 days. That's not different, that's usual. What is different, and I would base my argument on 2 pillars. One is utilizing this long summer break. Of course, I'm talking of degrees which are longer. And next is visibility. Everybody can hear me, right? Okay, perfect.
मेरा बात सुनो।
Rekha,
ये लोग ना ऋषभ जैसा लोगों का क्या काम है तुमको पता है?
Adarsh,
अरे
could
तुम
you
एक बार
mute
मेरा बात
yourself?
सुनेगा तेरे को पता है ये लोगों का क्या चीज का काम है?
Adarsh,
ये
could
लोग
you
Adarsh,
please
का
put yourself on mute?
पब्स है, सैलून है, और ये लोग
Adarsh, could you please put yourself
कौन
on
सा लोग
mute?
का पब होता है ना, के लोग का लिए ऋषभ जैसवाल लोग का है, और एक और उसका खुल रहा है।
Smriti, I think the
I think-
host can mute.
Yes, I did. I just did that. Yeah. Thank you,
okay,
Udita.
perfect. Thanks, Udita. So yeah, recapping like 10 seconds. So I would base my argument on two pillars. One is utilizing the long summer break, and the second is visibility. Now, why these two? Whenever you,
कोई लिंक भेजा है वो आज कोई
yeah, thanks.
Shavedi, you're muted.
I got muted as well. Okay, so now the question is this: whenever you want to be somebody in the future, let's take an example. I want to be I want to work in consulting. So the first thing is to have someone in your mind who is already a consultant, and see what this person has done over years, and that person would have some experiences, some skills, and that is what you need to have over the summer break. I know that one would prefer to make their own path, but here it depends on taste. I am a conformist and I would like to follow the path which has already been laid out by others. What do I mean by utilizing the summer break? Pertinent internships. And regarding this, if it's a summer internship, I would definitely ask you to start looking around from winter. Activate your connections, ask your father, mother, your cousin, your half brother staying in some other corner of some island in Falkland. And sometimes when it's too much through nepotism, these internships wouldn't have structure. And here I would ask you to take the initiative to give the structure yourself, to have milestones over these 3 months, to have a final KPI in place so that you can measure yourself. And this will also help you to talk about the internship in the interview themselves. And during the summer break, so this person, this, I don't know, 34-year-old consultant you have, would have certain skills. So you want to be a consultant, I don't know, in Lyon, in France. So to do that, you need to, as an example, you need to be well versed with Excel, you need to know French, you need to know Power BI, which is a software, nothing extraordinary. So it's very important to have those skills ready, and every day it's of utmost importance to brush up those skills at a fixed hour. So when I was a student, I would do after dinner 1 hour with a couple of cups of green tea. So that's how you utilize your summer break. And if you have a lot of time at your disposal during the term time, also during term time. So that's the first pillar of my argument. Smriti, I am not sure if I should complete my entire monologue and then take questions, or I should stop here for a while.
That's up to you completely how you want to do it, Shubhajit.
Okay, so I'll crack on, and then eventually if there are questions. Next is visibility. Now, the thing is this, that I know Daniel Craig, but does Daniel Craig know me? No. And here the game starts. And for visibility, what do I mean? Now, let me give you a situation. Your dean of school wants to forge partnerships with Indian universities. This is, of course, a real example which happened to me. And he wants to sign MOUs with Indian institutions. And he calls up his secretary, Mark, and says, Mark, can you organize a meeting next Wednesday with some Indian student, because I want to understand the local perception of these institutes. And Mark was like, okay, I'll have a word. I'll see what I can do. What does Mark do? He goes to the other head of schools, the class representatives, to ask about some Indian student. It's highly unlikely that Mark will pick up a student who is never visible, who doesn't come to class, who performs the incredible feat of watching Breaking Bad in a couple of days. Instead, Mark will pick up a person who is well known, who is a well known face, whose name rings a bell. And how do you be that person? There are a few possibilities. The first one is being active in lessons. And I don't mean that annoying person who raises their hands at every instant and doesn't let others speak. I mean that person who does those last two exercises in their electromagnetic course, and then, while not being wild at all, by not being mean at all, speaks to the professor and shows them that, okay, is this approach fine? The professor gets to know him. That person goes out to be in the board of important student organizations, volunteers for activities. That person goes to dinners and organizes dinner themselves. Yes, I do cook, and when I was a student, I also used to have large dinners at my house, regardless of the fact that my house wasn't large enough. And finally, I think this is important, to be kind. I, as a student, was pretty weak in programming, and but what I wasn't weak at is taking initiatives. So I knew many others were weak at programming as well. So I would say, hey guys, why don't we this Sunday after breakfast go to the library, book a room, and study all of us together? And there you become the point of reference. So this guy is not only interested, but is also helpful. And yeah, I think that is how one becomes visible. The point is this, that when you're visible, there is a higher probability of opportunities coming to you. And then you getting those opportunities is a function of the first pillar, which is utilizing the summer break and upskilling yourself. But for the opportunities to come to you, visibility is important. I think I exhausted all of my points, and not sure if I was within the time limits or I exceeded it.
That's fine.
That's it from me.
Do we have any questions? Would anyone like to ask any questions? Do we have any questions on Facebook?
Was everything understandable, or nobody understood anything? So
All was all good.
yes, Megha.
We don't have any. Oh, Megha has a question. Yeah.
I just thought that I just wanted to say that I thought it was really interesting, Shobhajit, that you mentioned having personal KPIs for yourself. Just for the benefit of our full participation, maybe you want to explain what personal KPIs are, or maybe what yours were. So it serves as a bit of a more illustrated example.
Okay. Thanks, Megha, for the question. So let's take up the example of being a consultant in Lyon. And I want to learn French. Now, it's not sufficient to download Duolingo and then, while going to university, know the names of 7 different fruits. It's not enough. The personal KPI is, by the end of 3 months, I need to give this exam. By the end of 10 months, I need to participate in this program where at least I start conversing in French. In this way, in case you don't reach that milestone in 3 months, you feel bad. And that's the point. You need to feel bad. You need to feel terrible, because otherwise you won't reach that milestone and won't get the joy of reaching that milestone. Not sure if okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think we Ronojoy has something to say. Okay, Ronojoy and Mohit are happy with what you said. They think they were pretty good points, but I think we don't have any questions. If anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand also. So Either put your question in the chat box or raise your hand. Then we can unmute you so you can ask your question. I think we don't have any questions for now. So, Shubhajit, would you like to say anything more or?
Just one final point. I mean, I know we focus on too much on the hard skills, hard stuff, and internships, but I cannot underline enough the fact of being kind and collaborative. It's not enough to be a toxic go-getter, but also a person who organizes dinners and organizes trips and organizes group study sessions, because beyond everything there is also a life abroad, and it's very important. It's rather fruitful if you can juxtapose your professional life with your personal life and be the, as I previously mentioned, a point of reference. So I'll stick around for any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shubhajit. Prithviraj, would you like to say something? Omega has a question again, I think.
Oh no, she's clapping.
Is she? Okay. No, Ronajoy has a question. Did you, Dhruv, can you unmute Ronajoy?
Yes, ma'am, totally.
Yes,
Hello.
Ronajoy, please ask your question.
I was wondering that during your master's or like abroad studies, like did you work as a part-timer? And if yes, then was the struggle a bit too much so that the studies may hamper or something like that? That's all.
Shubhajit, are you on
Yeah, I
mute?
wasn't being able to unmute myself, so I was
Oh,
writing
okay.
it. Yeah, so thanks for the question. Now, I would put part-time in two brackets. So one is the part-time you do to earn money in whatsoever way possible. So it might be working in KFC, so on and so forth, like my mother did when she was an undergrad student abroad. And the other one is which you would need to do as part of your professional curriculum. Now, I didn't do the second one. I was fortunate enough, but during my double degree abroad and during my MBA, I had to work. In my double degree, I had to work for IBM Milan, and in my MBA, I had to work for, because they were funding my degree, I had to work for Fondazione Agnelli. So it's so Bill and Melinda Gates, Microsoft, Fondazione Agnelli, and Fiat Corporation. That's how it was a struggle, but it also fits well in the visibility part, because you not only get the skills, you also get to know people. I mean, I didn't have an option because they were paying for my studies, but as I said, it was a struggle, but then in a month you get the hang of it. So eventually it was rewarding. So yes and no. Does that answer your question, Ronuja?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was on mute, so I couldn't unmute myself actually. Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
So now I think we can, Prithviraj can take up. Thank you, Prithviraj.
Thank you,
I-
Smriti, again for having me here. And nice to see so many people this time. And also to see Shubhajit again. So I'm going to be talking about internships, placements, and the introduction of knowledge exchange into universities right now. So recently we in Plymouth, we had like a knowledge exchange meeting for all universities. And I was representing my university out there, and there was quite a lot to discuss out there. And there was a lot about me said in that as well. And there was like a short film about internships and things. And about half an hour of it was my experience around internships. So I do have a lot to mention, but like I'm going to put just the concise information up front. Um, Now, when it came to actually coming and studying, I did not actually like studying that much, but I kind of like the idea of being able to get more practical knowledge and like get out of the class, do internships and things like that. So I did enjoy doing that. Um, and the university had like different fairs, and every university have them. So they get funding for like knowledge exchange, which is a new system where you meet businesses and you sort of introduce students with them, and they exchange knowledge just like it says. And through this funding, students get paid and students get more visibility. There's more networking opportunities and things like that. But using this, I was able to establish myself in Plymouth. And I know Smriti knows this, but about 3 weeks ago, I started looking for a job. And within 2 weeks, I actually got 2 job offers because I was well established in Plymouth. Um, but all of that comes later. The first thing that I did when I reached here was starting internships and started looking for placements. And the hardest thing was obviously trying to say, why pick me? Sorry, is that? Oh, okay, that's a thumbs up. Um, yeah. So yeah, why pick me? That's quite a big question everywhere. So for me, the placement was only 3 months after I reached UK, and I didn't have any good answers except for I'm a sportsman, and I've got a lot of transferable skills. I can take these forward. So it was me showing them that I can be myself and also achieve what they require me to achieve. And that's where the knowledge exchange part came in. When I looked at knowledge exchange opportunities, some of them wanted people with like a sports base more than marketing base. And then that's how I entered into knowledge exchange. And I got into a basketball marketing team using that. I got a good funding. And then after that, I moved on to another marketing team at Knowledge Exchange. I ended up doing about 20 different internships through my undergrad, which was quite crazy, but I had a lot of fun, met a lot of people, established myself really well. And I think in Plymouth, if there's any event, people already assume I'm going to be there. So it's quite a fun journey so far. Now, the next part was like, why was I so different from like other people? Why did I get like the 20 internships and not someone else? The best advantage I have had was that I'm an international student. And people often think like I'm an international student, so I won't get that opportunity like a home student. But for me, it was more like I'm an international student. How do I portray that to the person who's going to read my cover letter or who's going to interview me? So I just wrote things where I know like my difficulties are. So I'm not at home. I've come out, I'm exploring, and I'm exploring the rest of the world as well. So I love going on trips. I love seeing new places. And that also leads me to saying, I also love meeting new people and understanding their culture and understanding the new business culture. And sometimes employers really love this. And one of the roles that I've been offered is actually going global. So the business is going global and they want someone to kind of be like their cultural integrator. And, they haven't seen someone with like so much experience, someone who's worked in placements at big companies and is also sort of bringing all of that together and able to move around globally. So, when it comes to positioning, I think getting these sort of networks, getting this experience and understanding people is very important. And I just had to portray that. And I was never at a disadvantage out there. But yeah, that's all I had to say. Does anyone have any questions?
I think we don't have any questions so far. Prithviraj, you want to also, I mean, maybe talk a little bit about, because last time you did mention how your mentor, I know this wasn't one of your topics, but then how your mentor helped you with, all of this. If you could tell everyone about it, I think that's a very important point as well.
Yeah, of course. So I've actually had one more mentor after that. So I've had two mentors through my undergrad degree, and one of them was the global director for Turner and Townsend, whose name's Andy, and he basically helped me like position myself in the market. Like, what is it that an employer actually sees? How do I stand out? And what are those skills that people will look for in me? So he made me understand that. He also took me into his workplace and showed me around, like showed me what he does all day. So if you think of it like a big multi-billion-dollar company, and the global director asks you to come along and work with him, that's actually a lot of fun. But it's also a lot of work. And after that, I was able to sort of go forward to working in buying. But when I worked in buying is a lot of work. There's a lot of negotiations and things involved. But through Andy's experiences, I was actually able to like understand how to make it easier and things like that. But he did mentor me through my entire placement. The next mentor that I met was Neil, and he's the managing director of Shift Group. And he's also worked with a few more companies, including Deliveroo when they were smaller. So he comes in when companies are looking for expansion, and he basically helps these companies grow. Now, when I met Neil, Neil told me always join that company which is small and looking for growth, because if the company grows and you grow with the company, you potentially have a bigger space in that company. You'll have a bigger say, and it's always better for progression as well. So Neil's companies is one of the companies that's kind of given me an offer to go and work for them alongside my university. So yeah, there's quite a few out there, but yeah, I think,
Ronojoy again, I think, has a question.
yeah.
Yes, Ronojoy.
Actually, I was looking forward for my master's in maybe UK or Germany. So I was just wondering, like, what's the main job culture and job prospect, and how would I get the job? Like, is LinkedIn very helpful in regarding placements after my master's, or is there any sort of other things?
So LinkedIn is very helpful. I can't stress about how helpful it is, because it's your kind of professional visibility. And it's very important to have LinkedIn and have your experiences listed there, and also sort of once in a while go out and show what you're doing, things like that. So it's very important to have LinkedIn. The other thing is, in UK, it kind of goes down to what kind of job you're looking for, because there is a lot of requirement where I am for a lot of jobs. And that's why, at some point they're like, we need to hire people, and it becomes easier for me.
Ma'am, I do have a question.
Yes, Shayan.
Hi, Prithviraj. Can you tell me where are you staying right now? In England or in Scotland or any other place?
Sorry. Yeah. So I'm staying
In which part of the UK you are right now?
so I'm staying in Plymouth in England.
In England. And are you studying marketing?
No, I studied business management with international business.
Business management. Actually, I was also taking marketing. That's why I'm just connecting with you, because you were saying the terms marketing and all. That's why.
Shayan, yeah, these
Yeah,
personal kind of questions we can do later. You can connect with
okay,
Prithviraj.
okay, ma'am. Okay, okay, ma'am.
Prithviraj, I in fact would like you to add a little bit more about when you were talking about the mentors. You met these two mentors, but how did you meet them? Where did you find these mentors? Can you tell us that?
So like in our university, we have a career service, and they have like a mentoring scheme. And so basically, they took some information from me, and they took information from their mentors as well. And they connected us based on what skills we've got and what sort of personal life we have as well. So like, would we actually get along based on what we've done? And also, are my career prospects the same as what he's been doing? So yeah, like I just went to the career service at the university, and they had a stall, and I just put my name down and got connected to these people.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions, or we move on? Mohit has a question. Dhruv, can you unmute Mohit?
Hi, Prithviraj. How are you doing?
All right, how are you?
Good. So I just wanted to know how much the previous work experience come into play when you start looking out for opportunity.
So it actually, your previous work experience. So when I look for a placement, I already had one internship done. And before that internship, I didn't have any work experience. So what I did do is mention all my transferable skills and what else I've done. Like I took part in a whole bunch of rowing championships, football competitions, and I just listed those and listed my transferable skills. So that was quite helpful for me. Hope that answers it.
Yeah, I think so. It answers both the questions of when it's your first work experience, how do you present yourself? And then, of course, the second one is always easier because you have some experiences to show already.
Yeah, I think there are two questions in the chat.
Yeah. Alka, I think, Alka, do you want to ask the question? Dhruv, can you make Alka on unmute? Can you?
Yeah, I think I did it. I think not possible.
Okay, so let me ask her question for her. What is the value of LinkedIn learning courses without experience in that field? And I think she's asking this to everyone. So if the others want to pitch in anything.
I can help. Help
Yes.
if
Was that Mika?
yes, that's me.
Yes, yeah.
So Alka, LinkedIn learning courses without experience in a particular professional field is, think of it as any learning exercise that you are applying to, upskilling in a certain part of your sort of a sector that you want to work in. LinkedIn learning courses and any professional preparatory upskilling courses are going to lead you into your first experiences. LinkedIn learning courses may not give you the right types of they're not going to be qualifiers to a role, but they may give you insight into how to present yourself into getting roles that you want. So they are really valuable. They are like any other courses that you may take to learn a new skill, improve your chances, or further your knowledge in any field per se. But I wouldn't say that they are qualifiers. Like, let's say a lot of our cohort here are very technically bent in their careers. So technical qualifications are very different to LinkedIn learning courses. For example, I work at YouGov. We have, it's a company perk that you have unlimited access to LinkedIn learning, but that will not be a pathway for me to get a promotion if I complete a course. But what I learn from the course, what I apply is going to further my chances. So it's really what you do with the learning. You're on mute.
Thank you, Megha. I think with that you can move on to your part.
Great.
Prithviraj, you were, do you want to say anything more, or should we go ahead?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I really enjoyed listening to Shubhajit and Prithviraj. And I'll pick up on a couple of things that everyone said, even some questions while I talk to you. So just to recap, my name is Megha. I live and work in London, and I've been closely associated with GlobeEd since 2007 is when I first met Smriti and Shruti ma'am. So I did an undergraduate degree in contemporary crafts at Falmouth University, after which I lived and worked in London to sort of, learn more about the creative industries and basically plan what I wanted to do with my further education, which led me into a master's degree combined in product design and business schools. So I then really made a big shift in careers from being a sculptor. I worked with a tech startup in sales, which leads me to my current job. I work with a global market research agency called YouGov, and I look after one sector vertical in sort of business development and sales. So today I'll be talking to you about part-time jobs while studying abroad, the importance of relationship building and job search process. And I think the perspective that I'd like to take here is fairly early stages. I want to talk to you about how I first started out when I'd never even been abroad. And I found myself in a university in the countryside where I would always make a joke about this, that, you look out of the window and you just keep looking. There are no buildings. So I was like, that's crazy. What am I looking at? So, and in fact, that being a first experience also very pertinent to first jobs is what we're talking about as well. When Smriti ma'am and I reconnected and talking about this webinar, I reminded her that GlobeEd gave me my first job. So my first job was right out of school when I was preparing for my sort of Falmouth applications, and I think I did a good job at that. And GlobeEd was very kindly impressed with me. So they allowed me the opportunity to help their other students with preparing for language courses that we need for studying abroad. So I'll start with, so one of my favorite topics. I think one of my favorite things about myself is having worked really hard, always had a job since I started studying abroad. So, again, imagine this, 19-year-old Calcutta girl from modern high school, never been abroad. And then you suddenly land up in a small university town in the UK. And at the time when you go abroad for the first time, I promise you it will still happen unless you go to a big city, that every time you hear an Indian voice or an Indian accent, you'll be like, oh my God, yes, home. So it's not easy. Studying abroad, working while studying actually gave me that confidence about being able to live abroad, because you spend either 1 year or 3 years and a longer period. I think it is part-time jobs, like, I think Shubhajit mentioned, there are two types that you either do as part of your course. You may have the lucky opportunity to be able to do work that is related to your degree, but you may also need to, you may make a person's choice to do part-time jobs that pay some bills. That's perfectly okay, because that's number one here, because studying abroad is a major financial investment that our parents, ourselves, we make for ourselves. And then building that self-respect and work ethic from the early stages of your first job It's a building block you will never forget. It will set up the foundation of who you are as a person and a professional in life as you know it. Speaking of personal experience, humbly. And one of the really cool things about working while studying as a student with the 20 hours, let's say in the UK, that you are allowed to work per week while you're studying. So the kind of opportunities and jobs, let's say, you are working in that KFC. I have worked in a KFC. I have worked in a hotel. I've worked behind the cash counter at a little convenience store. You name it, I've done it. And I love that, because these are the kind of opportunities you can't afford yourself in India. There are, maybe, it's not quite common to do jobs like this. There's also, the fear of judgment from friends, family, whoever it is. And it's also personal inhibition. What will someone think about me? Is this okay? Do I feel good about myself doing it? But when you open yourself up to such an experience, if you want, it's not necessary, it's a personal choice. I think the empowerment, the personal empowerment that you build for yourself is really, really invaluable. Learning how, giving yourself the personal experience that work is work, it serves a purpose, it has nothing to do with if it is, it has nothing, it doesn't affect who you are as a person. In fact, everything that you do is only adding to what your capabilities are and what your sort of life experiences are, job, whatever it is. But the sort of takeaway that you bring home, and that sense of satisfaction that you take home, that here I am, I've done all of these things, feels good. I think it's about making yourself feel good. One more thing is that, Ronaja, you asked whether part-time jobs affect studies. That's up to you, like Shubhajit said. It is also mandated in the UK that you are legally allowed to work 20 hours only. So let's say if you break up, part-time working hours, you work in the weekend, or, split up hours in during the week, the way, however your sort of shifts are assigned and stuff, you really can make it happen. So it's really not a problem. It again depends on what university workload is and stuff. Summertime is also a really awesome opportunity for working while studying. There was one summer where I didn't go home for 3 months. That's the sort of break that you get in between years in a bachelor's degree. So I just did loads of different types of jobs. I worked in the creative industries. I carried on my personal sort of my standard part-time job. Made some money, had some fun. Like Shobhajit said, there's a life to be had here. That there's a life experience to take home as well. So think about what your perspective is. What do you think feels most natural to you? But again, Shobhajit also mentioned conformism. Here is an opportunity for you to do whatever the hell you want. You can really make your own pathway. Everyone is so different, which is going to lead me into my next sort of segment. Working while studying also helped me meet people, understand how to be in this country, build confidence, build relationships. And these early stages are zero risk. You may not need to carry on these experiences into your main CV, for example, but you really can test yourself, meet people, talk to them, learn about them. I think the language also is really, really cool, because when you're working in a part-time job, everyone is there to work. So you sort of pick up the colloquial tongue, you become comfortable, and that really serves you well. In becoming comfortable, my next segment is about building relationships. Now, I think towards your sort of summary, Shobhajit, you mentioned it's really important to be kind. Here you are as a really malleable person, potentially studying abroad, really willing to make a life out of your education, whether abroad or take it wherever you want, back home, the willingness to learn, work hard, and generally try to be a nice person to others, it got me this far. And I try to kind of carry on doing that because, Prithvi Raj said it can never be a disadvantage. So just as, I felt like this is a personal experience, and I'm talking about vulnerability here. Just as we're kind of constantly reading people, I realized when I was really new in this country that, hold on, I'm also being read every single minute, right? And people's experiences of you is what's going to further a relationship, professionally or personally. So I thought that, again, the only way not having a disadvantage was to be real and genuine and basically turn every experience into a chapter. So that's a chapter you kind of keep writing your story. People are so visibly different here. It's such a different culture, different background. I mean, you open your eyes and you feel different. That's okay, because that's something that you work with in carving your own spot, like Prithvi Raj has done. I thought that story was really, really cool. And like you said as well, soft skills are equally important in further education, building careers, as you have a chance to leave a strong impression with being nice, with building relationships. And you do it your way when you are sort of in university. Whether you're comfortable, just walking up to someone and talking to them, or if that doesn't feel comfortable, that's okay. Write to them. Say that here's where we had an opportunity to meet, so I'd like to introduce myself. Whatever feels real to you, I think, for as long as you take a genuine interest in people, do your homework and put the effort into a relationship, you never know how it will come back to serve you. Whether it is your cohort, your teaching faculty, part-time first bosses, visiting lecturers or industry experts, whomever you come across, I think if you really show a genuine interest in someone, like Mark, was it Shubhajit? The dean's assistants, I think Mark, remembering who he is. So I think that really goes far. And yeah, I think just in this kind of leads me into a bit of my experience about finding your first job as well in job search. Again, bear in mind, this is at very early stages. So hopefully, Ronajoy, this will help you out with your questions. And who was it who asked about LinkedIn being a really important tool? Anyway, I swear by LinkedIn. It is a superpower. The internet is your superpower, as we all know. When I started job hunting, unlike Prithvi Raj, at early stages in sort of switching from education into a professional career in the UK, I didn't have a mentor who had a personal stake in, not a personal stake, but was invested in my success. So I realized that I had to be my own champion. I had to champion myself. And how could I do that? I think I did two things with basic personal grit, and I was always prepared. So let's say, I know I've talked about building a lot of relationships personally or professionally, but when I am sort of presenting myself in an interview situation or in a place where I want advice or help, I think that your homework is what gives you the results from asking for help. Because I feel like someone can really not really take an interest, or you give them an interest. Actually, you give them a reason to feel interested in helping you out. You have an opportunity to impress very, very easily. Just do your homework, make it sort of easier for someone to help you out, so they don't expect, because you're constantly being read as well. It kind of goes far where you don't inadvertently and end up making someone feel like you want them to do your job, you know? So in job hunting, I think personal preparation is really, really powerful. Scour the internet, make sure that you leave no stones unturned. LinkedIn is literally your personal phone book, and it gives you access to the whole world. When you are writing to someone, just reconsider what you're writing, how you're connecting with someone. You never know who responds back to you. You know, in my old job, one of the largest investment groups in the world, which has a huge UK presence, the CEO of, it's called the Canary Wharf Group. The CEO of Canary Wharf Group I connected with. I brought him on as a client, and I thought it was really fun that he and I would text, about work. But obviously, it's quite cool, right? That you're texting the CEO of Canary Wharf Group. So that goes really far. It's a really, really powerful tool. Advice is available everywhere, but put the work in. Scour the internet. I think there are very, very different job search portals for all different types of careers, and I won't be able to advise on sort of where to go, how to look for it. Universities are a really important part of it. I think as you're leaving school, there is a lot of support from universities on a generic level, but when you're given information, try and go a few levels deeper until you're fully satisfied where you are. And then overall, I think my summary is that studying abroad presents you with a lot of opportunity to develop personally and professionally, but it is with your unique experiences and what you do with that, how you do the extra homework, be prepared and be nice. And that can get you really far. Thank you.
Thank you, Megha. Any questions for Megha?
Not a question, but I have a comment. I mean, the comprehensiveness of that monologue makes me want to thank you, Smriti, that she didn't go first.
No, I actually do want to say one more thing. Sorry, it's actually related to Shubhajit. I have so many notes from what you and Prithviraj so far have said. I really enjoyed those. I just wanted to reiterate on what personal KPIs mean, because I know that KPIs is a very sort of professional term, and KPIs means key performance indicators. So key performance indicators can be different for different people. So for me, I may have, as a salesperson, I have personal and professional KPIs in how my day-to-day goes or my week-to-week goes. So key performance indicators actually are a really awesome sort of tool to give yourself. That to-do list that you have little goals lists, and goals lists are the flip side of the key performance indicators, how you assess yourself on the work that you've done by achieving goals. And they don't have to be like major milestones. You can be like, oh, I did my laundry today. So key performance indicator, do household chores. That's it.
Yeah, that was really interesting, Megha, all your points. So since we don't have any more questions, can we move on to Udita? Prithviraj has something to say. Udita, just a minute.
Oh no, I was just clapping.
Oh, okay. Are you muted?
Okay. Can anyone hear me? Because I suddenly cannot hear anyone. Okay, thank you. So I really want to thank Prithviraj, Shubhajit, and Megha for basically putting it out very comprehensively. Everyone has covered a little bit of what I was going to say anyway. But anyway, let's get on with what I have here. So my name is Udita Chakraborty, and I was a law graduate from Kolkata University. And if you hear any noise in the background, that's a train going by. So in 2014, I had pursued international relations. So I pretty much changed track from going from pure law to something else, but related. And this was at University of Surrey in the UK. I then moved to Delhi. I came back to Kolkata for a time, worked there, and then I moved to Delhi and I got into the development sector, human rights and development. And as Smriti mentioned, I'm currently working for UNICEF. So I will be touching on 3 themes today. So 2 of these themes, I feel like, the previous 3 have covered in details already. So I will try not to linger. So the first theme is about changing track. Is it advisable that you pursue a different course for your master's? This is especially for master's students here, a different course for your master's from what you had covered originally. And in that light, I will be covering a little bit on personal branding. And there's also, because I'm working in India with a foreign degree, so some pros and cons regarding that. And I'll finish it off with some suggestions. So by the way, if I'm looking to the side, it's because I have my notes written here. So I'm a bit of a scatterbrain. So just let me know at the end of this if you want to ask anything, if you need clarifications. So pretty much one big question that was even asked to me pretty much when I was making this decision in 2014 of switching from law to international relations was this advisable? So from my accumulated experience over the years, I would say, honestly, it depends on where your focus is. Where do you envision yourself as working? I am a person who has never envisioned, I have litigated, I have had experience in the legal field, but it was never really my ultimate goal. I was passionate about human rights, and I knew I didn't care in what capacity, or again, human rights is a very broad subject. You can contribute. You could even work in a corporate as a CSR person and still contribute to human rights. So, but all I knew was that was where I wanted to end up at. So in that respect, it made sense for me to deviate from pure law, because especially the legal course that I had done during my undergrads, we didn't really have a focus on human rights so much. It was covered as one of the many topics, but we didn't really talk about, so much about sociology or, political economy or any of these things that I went on to study later on in IR. So honestly, that I think is a huge factor. Secondly, there's the whole thing about interlinking the 2 courses. So if you're switching from, say, I don't know, like from one course to the other, how are those 2 interlinked? And that matters a lot. Law and international relations, or anything related to, anything related to development or human rights, actually, that linkage works very well. You learn skills in these 2 courses that can be put together and use to build a comprehensive portfolio for you. And well, human rights is not the only thing. You can go to anything. Say if you have a tech background, I know people who have studied tech, and then from that they have gone to law because they wanted to specialize in cyber laws or anything to do with cyber criminology or anything of that sort. So again, it depends on the way you can interlink the 2 courses. Speaking of skills, the third factor that comes in, as I think it was Prithviraj who mentioned about skill transferability, which is how can you transfer the skills that you've learned in your course of education, all of the skills. As a package, how do you envision applying that to your job? So that, again, is a big factor that comes in. One of the advantages, personally for me, is that it increases your employability. So you might not, for me, for instance, I did not immediately get into human rights after completing IR. I had to come back to Kolkata, figuring out how do I go about, this whole thing. I worked as a lawyer again for some time in Kolkata. And only after, I did some research of my own, connected with a lot of the people that I had in my back there in the university who were in a sort of like similar field, I realized that I had to move. So, that sort of thing. Like, but here's the thing, whilst I was doing all of this thing, I still had a job on the side to sort of put a roof above my head. So this is also very important when you are, in times when there is a job shortage, because when there is a job shortage, you might have to do some compromises. And in such a case, building such a unique portfolio, covering such diverse range of topics actually can come in handy. And lastly, it, again, I mean, to sort of like sum up everything that I've just mentioned, it sort of makes your personal branding very unique. Now, what is personal branding? I think the others have not mentioned this, like this term, but they have covered pretty much what goes into it. So personal branding is like pretty much building your unique combination of skills, your experiences, personality, everything that pretty much the way you brand, say, a goods. A person might know if a person sees, for instance, say, Godrej has a certain goodwill around it. They know exactly what to expect out of them. So similarly, influencers on social media, for instance, they very often have their personal brand. Like in beauty industry, I don't know if anybody's heard of Huda Beauty and all that. You just know what to expect, what quality to expect out of them. So this building of personal branding is very important. And this is something I had, this is a skill, I would say, not a skill, but a concept that I picked up on during my education abroad. And personal branding, pretty much, it helps you stay ahead of the competition. It makes your portfolio unique. And unlike, I hate to say this, but unlike the 90s, today, a foreign degree alone might not give you the advantage that you think it gives you. A foreign degree, however, can be a huge building step towards building your personal branding, which can put you in an advantage. And lastly, I would say that it requires a lot of patience. Like, you just don't become, say, I'm not saying you become an influencer, but I'm again going to take the example of influencers. You don't just become influencer overnight. It is something that requires patience. So there are 3 keys that I personally have felt, that I personally picked up in building your personal branding. That is networking, which if you're in a foreign university, others have already covered how to pretty much network. I think Megha especially. So networking is a huge thing. A lot of the jobs that you see, I don't know if anybody's heard of the hidden job market, which is something that you don't get to access only via, job portals. And, a lot of these jobs are something that goes around by word of mouth. It happens a lot in the kind of career that I'm in. So accessing that sort of hidden job market is important. And networking is the key to that. Another thing to keep in mind whilst building your personal branding is to focus on the goal that you want to achieve. So say, if you want to say someone like me who wants to end up working in human rights, it doesn't make any sense for me. I've seen a lot of my fellow students from law, say, doing a lot of things with regard to law, legal blogging, etc., which is great for them. Doesn't work for me because my goal doesn't align with that. And the third thing that I've learned is never to stop the learning process. Like somebody was for instance, asking about LinkedIn courses. I will give an example of somebody I actually work with. I will call them Isaac because I don't want to mention their name. But Isaac recently added me on LinkedIn, and I went through their profile. They had like one certification after the other, and not all of these were offline. They were like, these were just very short courses, or from they might have done from Udemy, etc. And when I asked them why, I said that that's just the learning process. One needs to keep up with the skill demands for skills always change. Like with COVID, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the demand for communication skills have gone up as more and more organizations are transferring to the online platforms. So keeping up, then social media 10 years back, nobody would take it seriously, but today social media is an important tool. There's LinkedIn, which is related to which is very professional, but there's also Instagram. A lot of my kind of jobs actually are they are advertised on Instagram first. So just keeping up with these skills and how to negotiate around the current demands, this is again very important in building. This goes a big way in building your personal branding, is what I'm trying to say. Now I will come to the second part, that is working in India with a foreign degree and what are the pros and cons of it. I will pick up the cons first. So the first con I have is that, and again, I hate to say this, salary expectations. They need to be very realistic. India is generally not a country where, unless you are at a certain position, at a certain level of your career, the salary you get might not be equivalent to what somebody might be earning in a year, say, in a first world country. So if you plan to work in India, or say if working to India is an eventuality that you see happening, which is what happened in my case, I would ask to keep your salary expectations and anything related to that realistic. This is especially so if, say, your pursuance of the foreign degree is dependent solely on the salary that you are expecting in future. So say you have no scholarships, you're completely self-financing, no such help, you're completely dependent on what salary you might be getting later. I would just say, please strategize accordingly, because salary expectations are not that, like, yeah, it's not as per what you'd expect elsewhere. The other con that I picked up is that, and this I think Smriti had warned me about before I was going before I was changing tracks, is that abroad, like especially in Europe or in North America, I've seen that if a job is advertised and they ask for a certain degree, say the name of the degree, and say the name doesn't match, maybe you have pursued something completely different, but the skills you've picked up match what they are asking for the job, that sort of thing actually works to your advantage. In India, however, there is an excessive focus on the branding of the degree. So this can pan out in two ways. For instance, I currently work in communications, but neither in IR nor law, like they covered the whole aspect of human rights, but they were not very communication specific. And because I did not have that on my CV, I actually got rejected from a lot of jobs in India. Lastly, it was, I think, UNICEF who saw the advantage in having me because my skills matched. And well, pretty much, well, I am where I am. But this can also pan out in another way. Say, for instance, when I had come back from the UK and I was working in Kolkata, I was working for a law firm. And it didn't matter that my foreign degree, my degree abroad was not in law, it was in IR. Just because I had a degree from a university abroad, that thing in itself meant that a lot more was expected out of me. So this is just something to keep in mind. This is unfortunately how Indian organizations work. There are exceptions, but this has been the general trend. The pros of working in India with a foreign degree is, again, pretty much the last thing that I've mentioned is also a pro. Having a foreign degree is a huge thing over here. Again, people don't want to see what you've done it in. As long as it's a foreign degree, you know, it puts you ahead of the competition. So that influence can also help you, you know, connect with others who might have come from, who might have pursued similar degrees abroad, or, you know, it might help you in building that network over here. It also might increase your employability. And the second pro, which is specific to my field, but you may find this advantage in some other fields as well, that is certain jobs require you to have an experience in a developing country. Obviously, India is a developing country. It's, you know, you build your base from a developing country, and then maybe after you've achieved a certain level of expertise, you can go off and you can maybe become an international professional. So that is kind of the sort of job that I'm involved in. It might be in some other, I don't know, in some other fields as well. So something to keep in mind is that working in India, which is a developing country, may actually be of advantage in building your, you know, building a solid base for your career. So those are some of the things that I have with regard to working in India with a foreign degree. Suggestions wise, I think, again, some of this has already been covered, but pretty much research what skills are in demand. Again, COVID, communication skills demands goes up. So, you know, this demand may stay for long term, or it may not, or it might give rise to a totally new different trend. So one thing to do would be, if you're in LinkedIn, or if you kind of know what sort of organizations you're focusing on, just see what sort of jobs do they advertise and what sort of skills they ask for, and pretty much tailor yourself to that. Then your peers in the university, or pretty much career fairs, student services. I think in the UK, pretty much all universities will have student services programs or departments. Keep in touch with them as much as possible. You'll be surprised at what might come up. For me, I think where we studied, there was this whole thing that our student services they did was that every few years they will reach out to previous students and ask them what they're working in. And they will catalog it for future students to see where we could work. And that helped a lot. You could just take out that file and just go through whoever's done the exact same course as you have done and where they are working now. That also might open up vistas for you, because you can, you know, networking in India with regard to, you know, jobs might be different elsewhere. It can differ country to country. So keeping in touch with these things, you know, they give you an advantage. Similar thing with the career fairs. I used to go to universities' career fairs just to see what sort of jobs they're recruiting for. What is it they're asking for? I wasn't really expecting that I would be picked up on spot, but it is advisable that you make maybe a couple of copies of your CV and you just go around. So if you happen to sort of like, you know, get in talks with somebody and somebody shows an interest, you can just drop your CV right there. So, you know, this sort of thing. Check if university has placement options. This is especially for UK universities. I think for undergrads, you get the option of taking a year after the first 2 years where you can pursue a placement, and that placement counts towards your actual studies. Like the grades, you actually get graded on that placement. So placement this could be like pretty much working in any sort of organization in connection to whatever course you're doing. Where I studied particularly, we also had the option of pursuing a 3-month placement instead of doing the dissertation. I was one of the few who actually did the dissertation. Most of my fellow students went for a placement. Gives you a job experience. You don't do the dissertation, plus you know, you get paid for it, whatever. So just check, because this sort of thing, again, you don't know how you can swing. You never know how you might be able to swing it to your advantage. Then do not restrict your career options or job options to only the country where you've studied. So say you're studying in the UK, for a certain thing, do not restrict your job options only to the UK or only to India. Consider maybe options where similar things are in demand. For instance, I was looking for jobs in Ireland before I decided to come back to India. Still an English-speaking country, it has excellent organizations where I could have done something. So yeah, so that is something to keep in mind. It just increases the field at which you're playing. And lastly, pretty much I think Shubhajit had covered this, like just get out of your comfort zone. You don't know how building connections can be rewarding in the long run. Have fun. You're hurling yourself halfway across the world. Take advantage of it. So yeah, so that's pretty much what I have over here. If anyone needs any clarification, has any questions. Thank you, Shubhajit.
Shubhajit, do you want to tell everyone something about your KPMG experience, something to do with similar to what Udita mentioned about the hidden job market, how you use that?
Yeah, thanks for unmuting me. I never thought I will say this in a meeting, but thanks for unmuting me. So pretty good points, Udita. Now, two of the things you mentioned, I would like to connect them about personal branding and the hidden job market. So if you want or not, I mean, you would have a personal branding anyway. For example, your demographics, your gender, your experiences, and what you would like to do, and it will shape your personality. Now, the example I mentioned where the dean of school asked me to come over there and ask him. So he said, would you have any complaints about let's say the student services? I said, yeah, the only complaint I have is that I don't think there are internships like this. And then I told him what this is. And he said, oh, maybe I have a solution for you, because I never wanted to do an internship abroad, because unlike Megha, who spent her entire one summer there, I always wanted to spend 3 months at home. So I said I wanted to do an internship in India in consulting and in a large organization which works with the developing countries. And what are the chances that the person might say, okay, we have something for you? And he said, okay, we have two opportunities, three, one in Gurgaon, one in Kolkata, and one in Bangalore, where we might knock some doors. And then all the three worked out. I chose Kolkata one for entirely selfish reasons. But that puts light on the fact on what Udita said about the hidden job market. I mean, this wasn't even advertised. When I went there, I saw that there were 4 more people exactly doing the same thing who, let's say, tapped in the hidden job market. This wasn't advertised. So we were 5 of us, and yeah, it worked. So thanks, Udita, for mentioning that point. I wanted to bolster it even more.
Thank you. Thank you, Shubhajit. Thank you, Udita. I don't think we have any more questions. So perhaps now Shomak can speak to all of us. I'll just unmute you, Shomak.
Yeah. Hey, hi. Hello, everyone. Myself, Shomak Mukherjee, and thanks for having me here. And okay, anyhow, as per the today's topic, I have a few things to discuss, but I think actually both the things which I will discuss will be like interlink. But anyhow, thanks to all the speakers who have, I think, covered most valuable and great things already, which I don't have to spend much time on it. But anyhow, okay, before starting about my point, I just want to give a brief short description about myself. I did my bachelor's back in Kolkata 2012, and then I started to work with the TCS. and I work in TCS almost like a 7 years. So, and after like a 7 years in 2019, like recently I came for masters in Canada. So when I actually came to Canada for my masters, initially I thought, oh my God, it's a 7 years gap, like, and it's been a long gap for the study, right? So even eventually I thought that, oh, maybe will I pass or not? Because as the Indian study culture or like the foreign study culture, maybe you will find a bit of difference, because in India maybe we can focus on more of the theoretical base. In different countries they prefer like a project base or maybe the practical based work or something. But yeah, like I, like when I came here, like after 7 years, I just thought that initially it will be difficult or not, but yeah, anyhow it went very smooth. And yeah, means like I completed my masters and now I'm working as a senior analyst at Citi. So I just want to tell you one thing, that look, that study or like a learning, like each and every speaker already spoke about this thing, that learning will never stop, and like you will keep on like learning, like maybe when you will 30 or 40s, if you are working in an employer also, like when you will be that age, so you will start to learn a lot of things, and you need to keep growing your skill up to the mark, because every day technologies and everything, it is not only the technological field, maybe if it's a law firm or marketing. Yeah, you see, like we have in 90s we have a different dress structure, right? Now we have a different dress. So everything, it's not only the particular field, healthcare systems also, like everything is changing. And I do believe that in going future, like everything will change. Like maybe now whatever I'm knowing, after 10 years or 15 years, maybe a new technologies will come, and I have to learn that thing. If I don't cope up with the things that is going in the market as of now, it will be a drawback for me. So anyhow, I just want to discuss that two things, which is basically the presentation or showcasing or the visibility of your work, that I think all the speaker already spoke a few things on that, why the visibility is very important. And other thing is how difficult is to find a jobs, like especially in Canada. Like since I started here after my master's, so I can give a bit on this, but obviously it could be the similar for the other countries as well, and even in India. Okay, because look, in India, like we had a opportunity to sit on the on-campus job, and in India have that great opportunity. Like if you study in, like especially in maybe in good college or something, so you can just sit in the campus, and maybe once you complete the third year, by that time you will grab your job and you will just enjoy the fourth year. So that we passed our life. And when you came here, you will come here, maybe you will not find the similar structure. Like you have to find a job by yourself, you have to explore a lot of opportunities, and you have to show yourself why you are the valuable one to be in that employer, in the company. So you may find that thing is a difficult, but if you start looking everything's very beginning, like maybe for example, if you're doing a 1 year or 2 year, whatever the course, okay, so maybe like before your course starting to finish, maybe before 6 months or something, so you may have done already a bunch of work for your courses. Maybe you have done bunch of project, maybe the internship, and for example the work. Okay, so those things you need to show the visibility. Okay, because you need to showcase your work, and you need to basically come into the picture that, oh, maybe this person has done a good job, and why that can help our like our company to grow up more better. So that is very important. So basically, like if you are doing a project, like for me, like when I did my project, and like, okay, maybe I can say that project is not a mandatory things, okay, for the university. Maybe you can go for a course base also. Okay, so that time, maybe like for example the part-time job or maybe the internship, because for example in bachelor's in Canada they have to do a co-op or like a internship. That's a mandatory things, but for master degree that is not. Okay, so for example you may not have the opportunity to do the internship, but you may have opportunity to do the part-time job. So with the part-time job or maybe the internship or the project, everything whatever you have done, so on that you will gather a lot of valuable information. One is, for example, if you do a part-time work also, you are getting teamwork, you are improving your communications, you are improving the skills. For example, when you are working as an internship, so you are learning whatever the new technologies are coming into the picture and what the new technology the companies are working with. So those things, you gather the informations and you build your profile based on that, and you need to showcase yourself that with that thing how you can help the company to grow more better. So that's the one topic that I wanted to discuss. And another, to get the job market, and that's why I initially told that both of my things are interlinked. So this visibility as everything will help you to land in a good job. Because why I'm saying, because when I completed my master's and I had to be in that COVID time totally here, and I know that everyone, maybe if you guys know, that that time had a bit of recession, not much like back in 2008 or something when it was maybe, but like you never know what could happen like in future, right? So there will be a lot of rejection. For example, I remember like when I about to finish my course, okay, I took like almost 3 months before to explore the opportunities, okay. And the exploring the opportunity will not only the stop you, like for example, like if you go to any platform like maybe LinkedIn or any other job market, or else if you are looking for a particular job, so you can go to their company and directly apply for those. But you need to very start that very beginning, because the interview process is may not be very easier. Like maybe it's gonna not be like, okay, you applied and you will get a call. Maybe it could be possible that you will probably apply 50 jobs and you will get a response out of 50, maybe 5 or 6. It may sound so bad, but yeah, I had to face, because that time is a COVID. But now if you look at the Canada market, there are bunch of opportunities. There are a lot of millions job opportunity vacancies there in Canada. But still keep in mindful that it may not help you to, okay, if you see that, oh, if there are million of jobs opportunities, so let's go there and work there, but that will not help you to build your the career. What will build your career is basically when you will complete, or when you are about to complete your work, or sorry, your course, you have to find and that particular job market that you want to do. But maybe like it could possible that, how Udita say, that in here in like at the foreign country, like they don't give you much value, or like the focus on the degree. Because look, if I completed my degree as like a manufacturing engineering but majored in computer, so whatever the skill and whatever the profile I have created, because I also worked 7 years in TCS, where the software technology. So that skill, that whatever you are learning, the teamwork, the communication, the skill for the internship, and for example, something when you're doing the course, maybe you have learned, and that is like a helping, or for example, you are seeing in the job description that, okay, maybe that profile is going to suit me. So you can go for those. Okay, and always remember that maybe it could possible that maybe you'll apply for 50 jobs, and like I was telling you, right, maybe that period will be very tougher for you. Maybe you can think it, but eventually if you give more time and if you keep on increase your, for example, your skills and level, because when you read the job description, you will see that, okay, maybe the people or the company need this kind of profile, so maybe I can build up that thing. So LinkedIn courses that someone asks on the chat, or any certifications or any learning, it's not be like you have to do a paid certification to show that you did the certification, but you can just learn. There are a lot of bunch of free courses there outside in the like in internet, and you just learn those things. Because most important thing, when you do the interview, the people are going to ask those things, and they are not gonna like, they will not ask you to show your certification. They will just ask some question that will help, and that basically is that you have to answer. So those things I would recommend it. Like obviously you should increase your level of skills and the comfort. Obviously you should come out the from comfort, because like as the other speaker, like everyone spoke about the part-time job also. Like back in India, we never thought of doing that thing. Okay, but here, like you have to come out from the comfort, and you have to do a lot of work. Because look, I have worked 7 years in TCS, and I came here and I work in a coffee shops also. After that I work in a warehouse where I had to drive a straight lift. So those are the hard jobs. So, but those things will give you the more confidence, and will make you the people to create a network. Okay, and another things I would like to do, the inform you, like when you are like working at a part-time job, or if you are working in a project, or if you are doing internship or any kind of in the university, the professor or old alumni, like maybe some universities will have like opportunity that you will have to be in the campus fair, okay, also, or they have a meet and greet, so where you can meet with the old the students and something. Try to create network, because network is going to help you going more further. Because like as I mentioned earlier, like in India we do have the opportunity to sit on the campus where the company comes and we just give the interview, but here that may not work. Okay, sometimes it may work, sometimes may not. So what doing or creating networking or creating the friend circle, I can say, or that is very important. But also it is important to create a good connection, not the, like for example, if you are looking to find your dream job, or maybe in healthcare, or maybe in technology, or maybe in law, or whatever field, try to connect to those people, okay? Because it may possible that, because for example, like if you are a person who is really want to do some job, that doesn't mean that okay, you don't want to do another job, because in healthcare system also there are a lot of technological things that you are working. So it doesn't matter that you cannot connect with those people, but it's always important to connect with the good and important people, like who can really help you and who can really show you the bright future to going forward. So those are my topic. It would not take much time, because I think already this topics already discussed by the other speakers. And yeah, like let me know like if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer those. Okay, I see Subhajit. Yeah, sure.
Thanks for the monologue, Shumok. I had a curiosity. We were all giving monologues only, but I have a curiosity. So, on one hand, you said that the network that you have had while working in a coffee shop and while forklifting in a warehouse was important, and on the other hand, there was this point of networking with, let's say, important people. Don't these 2 points go against each other?
Absolutely right. But the thing is that, okay, when you are, that's why I mentioned, like when you are creating network, it doesn't mean that you have to create your network with the same person. It may possible, like for example, I will give you one small idea. When I came to Canada and I was looking for a part-time jobs, okay, and I remember that I went to a bank, because in here you can work as a tailor, as a part-timer also here, okay. I went to bank and I asked to a receptionist, okay, and she was Indian, okay. So I asked, I went for some work only, and I asked her, oh, do you know that if there are any part-time jobs or opportunities here or not? So she told me one thing, okay, I like, as of now, we do not have any part-time job here as of now. But Shomak, maybe if you want, like we can have a connect later, because I can see you, I can help you for the other opportunities. So later, like we just exchange our number, and what happened that she called me and we discussed that I explained that what field I'm working on, and I'm also like, I told that okay, I am working 7 years in TCS, so maybe it could be possible that if I get a part-time job in a, rather than a coffee shop, because I'm not a coffee person, like I if frankly speaking, means if I go to a coffee shop, I feel confused. Like if I go to a Starbucks, I feel confused. Oh, what to do? Like what to take? So anyhow, so I told her that okay, maybe if I can get any like a computerized based part-time job or something, and she told me that oh, okay, like since there's a technological base, her husband was working in a Capgemini, so they helped me. She helped me to find a good part-time jobs on the Capgemini to do that work. So that's the important thing. It's not only the networking that you have to build only with those person. Okay, they may help you to create the relationships with the other persons as well. So that's why I told, like if it's not only that okay, if you're looking for a technology person and or healthcare person, you only should not be connected with those person. You should connect it with the person who can really help you on that field. So that's the things I wanted to mention on that.
Okay, it's clear. So anything that would
Yeah,
eventually might lead to that. Okay.
correct. Because
Yeah.
because yeah, like I really have seen, like when I was in India, like I like I remember, like I was doing electrical engineer, I remember, okay, and I had a few courses of computer, okay. Initially I used to think that, oh, I am electrical engineering, why I should do a computer language, right? And since I had those two courses over my electrical engineering course, and on the third year when I sat in the campus for the TCS, they didn't ask me any computer subject. They just asked me a few questions about computer, obviously, but also some other stuff, okay, and I landed up a job. So it was very smooth. I never had to face a struggle like, okay, to find a job, how it will work. But where in Canada, like maybe initially you may find it difficult, because like for part-time job or something, like how Udita said, that you take the resume copy. I used to take like 10-20 copies of my resume for my part-time also. And when I used to go for a campus fair or something, I used to just give my resume. Like I just need to sell myself. It's like that. So that's why the visibility and showcase your work and the branding yourself is very important here, which really helps you to connect with some good people.
Yeah. Thank you, Shomak. Thank you, Shubhajit. Any questions? Anyone? Udita, Megha, Prithviraj, would you like to add in anything more? I think I'll unmute everyone. So if there's anyone who wants to say anything.
If anybody would like to ask questions, maybe I can clarify, because I kind of rushed through the whole thing. So maybe, yeah.
Udita, you want to elaborate on what you just mentioned about how your these jobs as a bartender and waitress in India? We are very, these kind of jobs are taboo, like, in fact, part-time jobs are kind of tabooed in themselves. So how do you think this was a big learning curve for you, working as a bartender and waitress?
So here's the thing. I actually did not know these things were taboo actually until I learned that I was the first in my family. I have family members who have gone abroad and studied, but I was the first who's actually done this kind of job, and I was told to keep shut about it. So what I would say is that, these jobs, to me, frankly, to my naive mind at the time, they looked very, I didn't really value the hard work that goes behind this job. There's the whole thing about constantly keeping within time, having to service everyone in time, and, talking to maybe sometimes when I was working as a bartender, we used to have like these bachelor parties sometimes, like this parties of 15 people coming in, or maybe birthday parties as well. And some of these people maybe they would be sloshed, some would have very weird demands, some would come up to the bartender and talk to me simply because they were bored. And I had to do all of this. So here's the thing, these things were all part of my job. And I had to do all of this, keeping a smile on my face without being rude, whilst also learning to be firm and keeping my responsibilities behind the bar in check. So this sort of like taught me, the value of the hard work that really goes behind. Like now when I go to restaurants or somewhere, I like, I feel where the waiter or the chef might be coming from. Like I feel that empathy. I also feel that it's made me a better networker, in the sense, like even within my office, like if I'm having to talk to somebody and say I need something to be done very urgently, but I also know this person has a lot of other things on their plate, instead of just pushing them, which I've seen is something that happens very commonly in Indian work culture. Like, I want this done by this time, it has to be on my desk, and this is no, but that sort of, that sort of communication actually, I feel like sometimes it fires, like, what do you call that, like backfires. Whereas from having worked in these places, now my mentality is that, okay, this person has a lot on their plate already. So when would be the right time for me to approach them? Or if this person can actually do it on their own, or maybe they need to talk to somebody like, maybe somebody else who could help them, and just, the little things like saying please and thank you and just requesting them. And, there's a way to get things done within an organization when you're planning or executing something without being demanding. And this also I've learned when before UNICEF, I was working for an NGO where pretty much I solely built their external contacts records. And this was pretty much how I built, like just, maintaining contacts, like, just, it's not like I had to do anything huge or, go out for drinks with people to build these contacts. I just had to be empathetic, and they automatically just wanted to work with me. And in the process, my organization was benefiting, So this sort of thing, I think, has been my big takeaway. I honestly think the part-time jobs that I had in the UK, they honestly have taught me a lot about being an empathetic communicator, and in dealing with people, like the people skills, whether it's internal to the organization or external to the organization. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, is there anything else, Smriti?
That's all for me. I mean, is there anyone else who wants to add anything? Any of you, Shomak, Shubhajit, Prithviraj, Megha?
I think
Yeah.
just sorry, go on, Shobhaji.
No, Megha, you go first. I heard your voice first.
That
So
I couldn't empathize more with sort of Udita's account about doing part-time jobs that were considered taboo. I have a long list of those, and I started enjoying them. I love those conversations in India at home. And I'd be like, oh, you have a problem with this? Guess what I did now? So I think it's about breaking the mold also, and it's nice. It feels good, and then absolutely, you end up learning so much more about different people's responsibilities and people's pressures and absolutely everything. Like for example, customer service is really, really varying across the world, and customer service in different industries also very different. Working behind the bar, me also, it's a high pressure environment, and you can't really make mistakes because people get very angry when you get their drinks wrong or you pour something or whatever, so you can't do that. So you kind of really that's actually really, really good, like keeping you on your toes. And because you have worked in those functions, the way you treat people now, exactly what Udita was saying, when you're in a restaurant and a bar or something, just to be nice to someone who's serving you, it's their job, sure, but it's not your birthright to be served, so it makes you a better person, 100%. My favorite thing also is that because we've been in that position, it's easier to get stuff out of major companies because you're just being nice to a customer service agent, and then you get the best sort of treatment from them. For example, Ryanair. I'm sure everyone who's lived abroad knows Ryanair is probably the worst airline in the world. It's worse than, like, was it Indigo? Is it? No, SpiceJet is a really bad one, right? So
Indigo is bad as well.
And they are just completely, they're rogue for bad customer service, never returning your money. I got returns from them also. Just be nice. You can get anything you want.
I also wanted to mention that, working these kind of jobs also teaches you a lot about multitasking and thinking on your feet. Like there might be an emergency that suddenly comes up. So what do you do? Like somebody comes to the restaurant, they have an infant with them who's crying and shouting. So what do you do? I don't know where the manager is. I don't know where the high chair is. So who do you go to? So, that sort of thing, like thinking on your feet and taking the initiative to maybe do something in the meanwhile to sort of like address the criticality of the situation. So that's that sort of thing, you also take away from these jobs.
Yeah, that's the kind of, I think, the soft skills that you start building while you're studying by doing these jobs. And that's what I think, Prithviraj, also you meant when you said that even when you're going for your first, whether it's internship or a job, and where you don't have any other experience to show, but at least these, you can show what skills, whether it's transferable or these kind of soft skills that you have, that you can highlight them in your CV when you're going for your first job. So all of it does matter.
Yeah,
It's
and
not just about the money. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. So actually, my first part-time job was in Fraser Group at Sports Direct, and because I had so much of a background in sports, it really helped me get that job. And from there, I moved into Evans Cycles, where since I loved cycling so much, I started like telling everyone about the different parts of a cycle, what happens, and why is it so much better. But it's like when you work in sales, like on a shop floor, people are just it's different. It's very different, and you have to think on your feet. You have to have these people skills, and it's so important to do that. And you also have like this respect for people after that. Like you wouldn't have had that if you never did this job, and it's so important to learn that while studying as well. But yeah, I think I agree with every point about that.
Yeah. So, do we have any more questions? Anyone? We have a message. Yes, Murchana, please unmute yourself. I think you can unmute yourself. Murchana, you can please go ahead and ask your question. You are unmuted. We can't hear you, Murchana. Murchana, yes, no, we can't hear you. I think Murchana is going to write down her question.
Unlike Teams, it doesn't give you typing, so you don't know if she's writing or not.
Yeah. Okay. Give her a few seconds.
Okay, Alka also has a question. She sent me on a direct message, so she's unable to unmute herself. So
Okay, I'll
she's
try
gonna,
to unmute her.
yeah.
Alka, you have to do it yourself. I have unmuted you from my end. Okay, so her questions come. She's completed her bachelor's in psychology and wants to pursue master's in management. This is Murchana's question. Murchana says that she's completed her bachelor's in psychology and is going to study master's in management. She has quite a few experiences in management field, but is curious if the change in the field would hamper any job prospects for her. I think this would be something which Udita might throw some light on, because you also switched.
Yeah.
Or any
So-
one of you, actually, any of you would like to answer.
I'll just mention that management is really like, also again depends what sort of management you're doing, but management itself is such a field that people from all kinds of streams actually do go to pursue it. That way speaking, I don't think it stands to hamper any job prospects in the UK. I mean, my cousin, who is a doctor, who has completed, he's in the US, who completed his master's in surgery, I think at least 10 years back, is now pursuing an MBA. If doctors are doing MBA, I don't think it stands to any chance, especially if you're looking to sort of open up your own practice or your own, say, if you're looking to open your own startup, pursuing a management is actually good from any stream. But other than that, I think specific to management, maybe somebody else can.
Maybe I can put it here, because psychology is something, you need to learn how to, I mean, it teaches you how to, understand people, how people think. And that skill is something which you can apply in any field. I mean, irrespective, even or whether it's entrepreneurs or, at a lowest level job that you do to the highest, you need to understand how people work. And it's going to be the most useful skill you can have, to have that bachelor's in psychology for any field, and management, of course, definitely included.
Actually, Smriti, you just reminded me, and this is like quite a long time ago, but I think it's still relevant. I know people who have studied psychology and have gone on to work in corporate social responsibility, because they are responsible, for human resources. So I think this works.
And a lot of research also, businesses need to research on how people think and what can sell and what can't. So in marketing also, I think various aspects of business could use people from psychology background.
Well, maybe I can. Maybe I can. I come from the field of anthropology, and you have to.
I'm on mute.
You're on mute?
Yeah,
No, unmute yourself.
There's a feedback happening.
I think if you both, if one of you mutes themselves and also turns off volume. So mute your mic and turn off your speaker as well, and then it should work. Martin, you're still muted.
Yeah, Martin, you're mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly. With the feedback.
all right, I'm
Sorry
sorry
these
for this.
complications. But in humanities, you often have the thing that you won't find a job which is really, you know, according to what you have studied and all this. So many of my students have done everything from, I don't know, from management, from documentary filmmaker, from tourism, um, social work, whatever, journalism, academic work, whatever. But what you see that coming back to the psychology and management, often if you have a degree in one of these fields, social sciences or humanities, it's very advisable to do something different. Who wants to, for example, employ an anthropologist who has 2 degrees in anthropology? Someone who has done 2 different degrees will be much more interesting to employ. Yeah, that's one thing. And of course, if you want to make an academic career, then it's advisable to do a second degree in your field, maybe, but only then. And I would maybe what I want to emphasize also is that many people are really helpful and willing to help if you approach them. Like for example, this one student became a documentary filmmaker. One day he came to my office. He said, "I have an idea, but I don't know how to do it," because he wanted to do a documentary film, but he didn't have any clue about how to do it. He was a musician. Also, was playing in a band. They were a little bit successful. Had recorded 2 CDs, but that was all. And he asked me, "How do I start? How do I learn about filmmaking?" Because he had this, he wanted to about sports. The World Cup was coming up, and I told him, "Listen, write down what your plan, your idea, make a formulate this, and then approach some people." So he did this more or less, and after 1 or 2 months or so, he came back and he had convinced some people to help him and everything. And the idea has more progress, and he even got a sponsor. But the sponsor had asked him to write a script. He didn't know how to do this, to write a whole film script for a 90-minute film. So he came back to me. We sat down again. I was one of the many people who helped him. I told him how to do it a little bit. Supervised his work, and in the end, I mean, he kind of won several awards with this film. He met the German Chancellor, the German President. Many news channels in Germany reported about this film, and all because this person was someone who was willing to approach people. Everyone liked him also. You know, that's maybe you need to be kind. You need to be always polite also to people, but he got so much support for his project that in the end, this film became a huge success as a documentary film. And so many things are possible if you just approach people. If you know, if you sometimes try not to be too shy, but just ask directly what you want, and you need to have a clear plan.
Okay. So,
Thanks, Martin.
Anyone wants to say anything more? Alka's question is to do with graduate employment. It, I think, goes again, like I said, the immigration and visas. These are things we don't want to discuss today, Alka. But if there's anyone who wants to answer her question, is it better to take up a graduate scheme or a fixed term contract? Is there anyone who could or would want to answer that? Alka, I think this will be for another time, this question.
Well, I would say it depends always on the situation. The thing is that whatever you plan to do, discuss it with different people. You know, get some feedback and then decide. You don't make any of your decisions alone only.
Okay, thank you. So, any more questions? Do we have any more questions? I guess not. Would any of you, Shubhajit, Udita, Megha, Prithviraj, Shoma, would any of you like to say anything more, or should we call it a day?
Nothing more to add. It was really enlightening listening to everyone's experiences. Thank you for having me.
Same for me.
you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for attending, everybody, as well.
Yeah,
Thank you everyone for attending, and thank you all the speakers for being here. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Your
Thanks, Smriti.
valuable
Yeah.
time. Thank you.
Bye. Have a great Sunday ahead.
You too.
Have a great
Thanks.
weekend, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.